Mr. Stone, how you doing, sir? Thanks for joining me this morning.
I'm good. Great to be here.
So I wanted to get you on because of your comments of John Brennan. So tell me what you know about this guy who came after you, essentially.
It's actually amazing that John Brennan, who is an admitted communist, who said during a polygraph test that he supported the Communist Party candidate for president, Gus Hall, that he was a member of the Communist Party.
Mm-hmm.
He is also the man who, as the CIA station chief in Riyadh, signed the visas for four of the Saudis who allegedly attacked America on 9/11. He also, according to former FBI counterintelligence expert John Guandolo, converted to radical Islam, specifically Wahhabism,
Mm-hmm.
in an elaborate ceremony during the time that he was posted with the CIA in Riyadh. And we know that he got caught red handed hacking the email and monitoring the phone calls of a Senate committee, both senators and staffers, that were investigating his illegal use of torture as CIA director. You wonder how a man with this kind of criminal past could even be CIA director.
Yeah.
Uh, and John Radcliffe's CIA report of roughly 2 weeks ago, in all honesty, was the shallow most revelation. It was really, I think, meant to co opt the House Intelligence Committee report and the disclosures by Tulsi Gabbard, which were far more damaging. Uh, in essence, the report released by Radcliffe simply said that the Steele dossier was not up to the agency's standards when it came to statecraft. What it should have said, it was a total, complete fabrication, a fraud. Brennan knew it was a fraud. Uh, Andrew Weissman, perhaps the most corrupt federal prosecutor in U.S. history, knew it was a fraud going all the way back to his days as the general counsel of the FBI. They all knew it was a fugazi, as we say in New York, a complete fabrication paid for by Hillary Clinton, who then hid those expenditures, listing them in her FEC reports as legal fees. She paid a fine for that. So Brennan is really the guy who jams the Steele dossier into Barack Obama's daily intelligence briefing as the rationale for the FISA warrants that were used to spy on President Trump and his campaign, also as the rationale for the appointment of Robert Mueller to run the witch hunt.
Yeah.
Uh, so, this entire uh, uh, abuse of power, this entire political dirty trick, is really orchestrated more by John Brennan than anyone else. I have credible sources that tell me that he is on the lam, that he's left the country. I believe that he at least was in Austria. I do know that they set up a makeshift MSNBC studio background for him so it can appear that he's in the country. There
Hmm.
are more recent reports that he may be now in Ireland seeking to get an additional passport. I think he knows that he's a target. One of the questions I got on my radio show last night was, how can you expect to get a conviction of any of these people? Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden, Mueller, Rosenstein, et al., in the District of Columbia? And the answer is, I don't.
Yeah.
This is a continuing seditious conspiracy in which the raid in Mar-a-Lago was only the most recent step. So if you take all of the falsification of Russian collusion that was alluded to uh, during and after the 2016 campaign, combined with that, the attempts to indict Donald Trump successfully in New York on fabricated crimes, the efforts to keep him off the ballot, the efforts to raid his home, looking for documents that I think proved all of the Russian collusion stuff that has now been made declassified by Tulsi Gabbard. It's a continuing seditious conspiracy. Therefore, the jurisdiction is in Florida. And a grand jury right now, I believe, has been impaneled in both D.C. And Florida. The grand
Really?
jury can be any place. The grand jury testimony in New York can certainly be used in Florida. Jack Smith did it. So I think that there is prosecution coming for all of these characters, but it's not going to be in D.C. because every single judge in D.C. is partisan and they're all corrupt. I don't want to mention any names. Amy Berman Jackson, Emmett Sullivan. Judge Jackson actually, I believe, has there are 16 House Republicans preparing articles of impeachment for her. Now, I'm not saying that she's likely to be impeached. That's a very high bar. Requires the passage of articles of impeachment in the House. That's, I think, likely. 2/3 of the Senate, difficult to vote, but you still have to have a trial, and she would still be subject to questioning. So
Yeah.
maybe her turn to be in the barrel soon. We shall see.
Well, we have a case with RFK Jr. against the Trusted News Initiative in the D.C. courts. It sat there for 2 years. They won't even put it on the docket. So I completely get the corruption thing there. I have a question. You know, Brennan was in charge of the CIA. That's a huge position, access to everything. What kind of damage did that guy do while he was there? I mean, obviously, it wasn't working for you and I. He's working for somebody else, in my opinion. Any
Uh,
thoughts on that?
yeah, I think he did enormous damage to the country. Uh, his conversion to radical Wahhabism, I think, tells you who he's really working for. Uh,
Yeah.
this guy is he's a criminal, but he's an arrogant criminal. That's the most amazing thing. So when Tulsi Gabbard fired over 100 national security staffers because they were leaking and because they have no loyalty to this administration, he goes on MSNBC and he says that he's appalled. Appalled? I'm appalled at his conduct. This guy is a criminal and he needs to be prosecuted. This is a guy who repeatedly questioned Donald Trump's fitness to be president. Uh, Again, how does a man who admits in public and in a polygraph test that he's a communist become the head of the most powerful intelligence agency in the Western world?
Yeah.
It's really boggles the mind.
We did a lot of reporting a few years back prior to 2020, I think, or right then in that time frame. He was bringing in Syrian fighters and Ukrainians in as kind of Antifa types, and was behind a lot of this. What was going on in these cities? Did you hear any of that?
I didn't. I wrote a very substantial piece on Brennan for Substack.
Mm-hmm.
There's an amazing new book out on him by my friend Ian Trotter,
Mm-hmm.
for which I wrote the foreword. No, I think he is one of the great villains of all time, and his arrogance is what gets me. In other words, he's hiding in plain sight. He's on MSNBC, daring you, not me, obviously, but daring this administration to arrest him. His arrest, I think, is coming. And if I had my preferences, it would be at 6 o'clock in the morning when 29 heavily armed FBI agents storm wherever he is. And then just using the same standard that was applied to me in DC, he should be gagged. He should not be able to defend himself in public because, as the judge said in my case, if he's allowed to speak, it could taint the jury pool. Therefore, he should not be allowed to speak. Now, in my case, I was, of course, convicted in a Soviet style show trial. I now have affidavits from two of the jurors who tell me that the judge visited the jury room during deliberations. That's
Wow.
disbarment. That's
Wow.
disbarment right there. But the judge's contention was if I were allowed to defend myself on, say, social media or on your broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
it would taint the jury pool. Why then did she refuse to lift the gag order after I was convicted?
Amazing.
Uh, right up till the time that I was pardoned, while I was awaiting incarceration, she refused to remove the gag order. So John Brennan needs to be gagged because anything he says could taint the jury pool.
So I saw some of your tweets. I think you gave a speech recently, and the title was Russia, Redemption, and Vindication. Did I read that right?
Yes, exactly.
Tell me about that.
Well, I've been very forthright about the fact that at first when I was charged with these process crimes, in other words, the prosecutor in this case, Aaron Zelinsky, who kind of reminds you of the John Belushi character in Animal House. Uh, this guy was supervised by a woman named Jeannie Rhee. She had been Robert Mueller's law partner. She had previously represented Hillary Clinton in the illegal email server case. But the judge, Amy Berman Jackson, didn't find that that was a conflict of interest, even though I had written extensively in criticism of Hillary Clinton, specifically regarding that issue. The judge found that not to be any issue. Jeannie Rhee had all the charm of a North Korean prison guard, to be honest with you. So these are every one of the prosecutors involved in my case had previously worked for Hillary Clinton. Again, given the fact that I wrote The Clinton's War on Women, which is the definitive book on the crimes of Bill and Hillary, I detail 38 individual sexual assaults or rapes by Bill Clinton. In that book, I interviewed 38 women who had been sexually assaulted by Bill. You can get that by going to EpsteinTruthBook.com. I think it is EpsteinTruthBook.com. Or go to StoneZone.com and find The Clinton's War on Women in the store. So the fact that all of these prosecutors worked for Hillary meant that they had a conflict of interest. Of course, the judge did not see it that way. In any event, it became clear to me that in D.C., the Constitution, the law, the rules, the evidence, none of these things matter.
Yeah.
So, for example, the underlying premise of the case against me was that the Russians had conducted an online hack of the DNC. There is no evidence of that, none whatsoever. The FBI admitted at my trial that they never inspected the computer servers at the DNC, that they relied on a third-party company called CrowdStrikes.
Mm-hmm.
The judge refused to give us the CrowdStrikes report in discovery. Mark Elias showed up in the courtroom and argued that it was proprietary and I shouldn't be entitled to it. Now we know why. When Sean Henry, the head of CrowdStrikes, was subpoenaed to appear before the House Intelligence Committee, he testified under oath that he had no proof whatsoever that the Russians had hacked the DNC. I wanted to bring Bill Binney, the preeminent counterintelligence IT expert with the CIA, to provide both forensic evidence and expert testimony to prove that there had been no online hack. The judge would not allow him to testify. So a certain point was reached in which I realized that this was just a kangaroo court, that my constitutional rights and due process would be completely violated. The judge ruled that I couldn't even raise the question of corruption by the special counsel, the DOJ, the FBI, or any member of Congress. I don't want to mention any names, Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, but it was at that juncture that I kind of hit rock bottom. I was drinking too much. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was fearful, not for myself, but for my wife, who's
Of course.
75 years old. I'm not sure she'll kill me for saying that, but how she would support herself, where she would live. And it was at that point that a pastor who was a very good friend of mine, Randy Coggins, who's got a great new book out, young guy, really convinced me to return to the church, to seek redemption, to confess my sins, to get right with God.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. And I did it sincerely. I think it's the only reason I'm with you today, Todd. I think God saw me through this tribulation. I think He lifted me up and He saved me from my persecutors. And now they are caught in the deadly snare that they laid for me. So vengeance is reserved for the Lord. We're told that we should forgive those who have trespassed against us. Being half Sicilian, that's very difficult. It's the hardest part about being a Christian. But the Bible does not say forget. It says forgive. It doesn't say
Right.
forget. And I haven't forgotten. I mean, for example, people keep saying to me, what's your beef with Steve Bannon? Aren't you guys both MAGA? Well, here's my beef. He testified before the House Intelligence Committee, as I did, under oath, as I did. He was asked point blank, did you ever talk to Roger Stone about WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or these allegedly stolen emails? He said, no, never. He was asked in a follow up, on no occasion, by Adam Schiff. No, on no occasion. Then imagine my surprise when he was a surprise witness against me at my trial for Robert Mueller, wouldn't look me in the eye, kind of swept to the jury stand, dressed all in black, kind of like a fat Johnny Cash who hadn't bathed in some time. And he was asked the exact same question. Did you ever talk to Roger Stone about WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or these allegedly stolen emails? He said, oh, yes. Stone raised it in every conversation we had in 2016. And I considered him the campaign's access point to WikiLeaks. None of which is true. I passed 2 different polygraph tests proving that that's not true. So this guy tried to knife me in the back. He tried to help Robert Mueller send me to prison for 7 to 9 years. Have I forgiven him? Yes. Have I forgotten this? No. Do I think the idea of him running for president is a laughable joke? Yes, I do.
I was going to ask you about that. You're a political guy. Is that a thing? I mean, is that something you've heard, around the grapevine?
Well, he leaked the story himself. This is how it works. Sources close to Steve Bannon told the UK Daily Mail that he's planning an audacious campaign for president. You have to be kidding me. People do not vote for toothless hobos who look like they're on crack. I don't understand his hygiene issues, but he's not attractive at all as a candidate. And he has a long history of backstabbing Donald Trump. I remind you, he said that the Trump organization was a criminal enterprise. He said that Donald Trump Jr. engaged in treason in his setup.
Then they're eating their dog food, and the family sits down and gets lasagna, and they're like, what is that? And they have this sense like, actually, maybe what I'm eating is shit. Maybe they're getting the good stuff, but you don't really know. And that's why we don't feed dogs to the table, because the second you do, they're done. They're like, really? Beef eyes? I don't think so. I'm not eating that shit anymore, because they know better. And that's what Zin is. Like, the second you have it, you're like, what? Are you serious? I put that shit in my mouth. And you're mad, obviously, at the people who did it to you, but also at yourself for, like, settling for that, for settling.
Because we're not actually dogs.
No, we're not dogs. And, like, why would I be eating beef anus when I can eat?
Excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Russian lawyer that had been really staged by Jeep Fusion GPS. He said that Donald Trump was a scumbag, that he wasn't a billionaire. And this is not the first time he's thought about running for president. He's delusional. Folks won't remember this, but during the 2022 campaign, he went on a series of rallies for Republican candidates. There was only one problem: nobody showed up. So it is a thing. You got several different stories reporting it last week, but the person who leaked those stories is Steve Bannon. He's not a viable candidate for president. At the CPAC conference this past year, he spent, I think, quite a bit of money to place, but the idea of him competing with J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or Tulsi Gabbard or any other viable candidate is laughable. He is, to say the least, not candidate material.
What about the EU and Zelensky? I saw you posting about this too. I don't believe they want peace either. How do you think this is going to go down tomorrow? Any insight?
I think based on the statement by a spokesman for the Russians that the president has made a proposal which the Russians find acceptable, I think that he is going to tell Zelensky that if he doesn't agree to the terms presented to Putin, there'll be no more U.S. support for the war, not another dollar. Now, we both know that much of that money has been stolen.
Yes.
A lot of it, of course, was run back to the United States to pay defense contractors because war is extremely profitable for some people.
Of course.
Not the people who get killed or maimed, unfortunately, but the people who make weapons and make bombs and make missiles and make rockets and make bullets. But also a lot of that money is just, Zelensky admits, it's just missing. I think it was Elon Musk who alleged that it ended up in the bank accounts of a number of U.S. lawmakers.
I was going to say it's probably the Act Blue stuff too, right? I mean,
It could have been done that way, or who knows? Maybe Lindsey Graham has a Swiss bank account. Who knows?
Yeah.
I do think we should find out, but we've been paying for this so far disproportionately. If Zelensky wants to continue to prosecute the war, he's going to have to do it without a cent from the American people. Let's see how anxious the Brits and the Germans and the French are to pony up to pay for a war that he cannot, under any circumstances, win. The U.S. fake news media has, since the beginning of this war, continued to create the impression that Ukraine is winning, and there's just no evidence of that. I mean,
none at all.
Military experts that I respect, people like General Michael Flynn or Colonel John Mills or Colonel Rob Maness and others who analyze this, I think, dispassionately, say that the Russians will not be defeated. Zelensky's running out of men. He's got to go out and conscript 14-year-olds.
Well, they're also bringing in 60-year-old guys too. And
it's their cannon fodder.
Yeah,
so totally. I think the president is this close to success, and I think we both recognize, just based on his record, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize just for the fact that he has a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. He ended the war between Congo and Rwanda. He got a ceasefire between Pakistan and India. This list goes on, as you know. Will these elitist globalists who gave the Nobel Peace Prize to Barack Obama, I assume in recognition of the fact that he dropped more bombs and bombed more people than any president in American history, will they give Donald Trump, who's an actual peacemaker, the Nobel Peace Prize? I kind of doubt it, but it doesn't matter. The American people know.
I completely agree. You mentioned Schiff and Swalwell. Are we going to get some accountability there?
Well, this is not actually a news story. Molly Hemingway figured out from the Inspector General's report in December of 2024 that Swalwell and Schiff had leaked classified documents to the media. Now, I was charged with lying under oath to Congress. Leaking classified documents is a far, far more egregious legal infraction. I wasn't even guilty. They are guilty. We now have proof of it. There is no immunity for members of Congress. So when you try to look this up, and when you look at the fact that the Biden Inspector General's report nailed both of them, the reaction of the media was, how dare Trump's Justice Department investigate members of Congress for breaking the law, as if they have some kind of immunity, which they don't. There's nothing wrong whatsoever with the Trump Justice Department investigating people leaking classified documents. So yes, I think Schiff has his own vulnerability under the Russian collusion rubric anyway. These should just be additional counts in his upcoming criminal indictment.
So I want to talk Florida, but one more international question. I still am mystified about what's going on in Syria. You have Golani who put into to the head of the government, Assad taken down. You had a lot of Christians killed in southern Syria right after that. More information is coming out on that. And the U.S. government is supporting this, I think, in the goal of having a unified Syria and some kind of, peace process. But do you have any insight on that whole thing with Tom Barrack and all of that?
I really don't. I think Tom Barrack is among the very most able individuals appointed by President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom Barrack also is a man who knows that you don't conduct your diplomatic negotiations in public.
Mm-hmm.
And while he has said a lot of, I think, soothing things that are designed to get the Syrians to negotiate in good faith,
Mm-hmm.
I know he's a Christian, and he certainly
Mhm.
doesn't approve, nor does the president approve of the mass slaughter of Christians, which has happened before in Syria.
Yeah.
Look, I was never a great fan of Assad, but Assad was not mass slaughtering Christians. It wasn't mass slaughtering anybody. And it's funny how the Biden administration hurried to topple him before Donald Trump became president.
Yeah.
Because they knew it was their last opportunity. This is going to have the exact same success that they had in Libya. How did that work out?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, let's talk Florida. I'm not a fan of DeSantis. I know what's going on. You know, our friend Chris Gleason has reported extensively on the election cartel down there that's preventing grassroots from having any power, that's preventing honest elections. There's judicial corruption, and it's all ignored by the DeSantis regime. Do you have any comment on that?
Chris Gleason is a great researcher, and he's a brilliant guy. He knows more about Florida election law and election integrity and campaign finance fraud than perhaps anyone in the country. So he is my go-to guy.
Yeah.
I have very high regard for Chris. I also like Chris Jersky. Not everybody in this community gets along with everybody else.
That's true.
But that's how we are as conservatives. It's just the way we are. I have a high regard for both of them, but particularly for Chris Gleason, who's also been a spiritual advisor, in all honesty, as I went through my own personal redemption. I'm most disturbed with the fact that Ron DeSantis appointed Minnie Mouse to the U.S. Senate. Our U.S. Senator Ashley Moody was the former Attorney General, a job in which she has no accomplishments whatsoever. She's a non-entity. She's devoid of any particular talent. I was very disappointed to see that the president endorsed her. I would like to see Anna Paulina Luna, who frankly, early on, I had some serious misgivings about. I wasn't sure about her. I thought that she might be a closet DeSantisite.
Yeah.
I turned out to be completely wrong about that, and I admit it. We've become friends. I have worked with her on the JFK assassination document exposure because I wrote a New York Times best-selling book on that topic, and I have a very good understanding of what's still missing. The deep state is still holding back a number of very significant things. So in a perfect world, I would like Anna Luna to challenge Minnie Mouse, Ashley Moody, for the Senate. I don't think that's going to happen. The general thinking is that President Trump's endorsement makes a candidate in Florida invulnerable. On the other hand, I think the fact that Ron DeSantis and his wife got caught red-handed stealing $10 million from Medicare, money that was earmarked for the poor, the elderly, and the disabled. There's more evidence of it this week, new disclosures that Matt Gaetz just put out. These are really egregious crimes. So Casey DeSantis may be thinking about running for governor, but I think that Byron Donalds, who has the president's endorsement, would easily beat her in the primary. And frankly, here in Broward County, some people say if she comes here to campaign, well, they might perform a citizen's arrest and just handcuff her because $10 million is a lot of money. And it was kind of funny to watch the governor when he's asked about this. First of all, he gets very angry and indignant. You can't question Ron DeSantis because he is a twisted mutant with a severe personality disorder.
What are you trying to say, Roger?
I know I should stop mincing words and just say what I really think. No, look, this guy is he's got psychological problems. This is a guy who wears earbuds when he's not listening to anything so he can avoid interaction with human beings. He doesn't like people. He never says thank you to his large donors or his volunteers. And I think that that those who say, oh, if he'd only waited his turn, he would have been the nominee in 2028. No, he'll never be the nominee because when the voters meet him, they don't like him. And his wife is Lady Macbeth. I mean, she pushed him into this race, and he stabbed the man who made him in the back. I mean, for those who don't live in Florida, you need to understand the history. He was running for governor. He was trailing 53-8. Running against the state agriculture commissioner, Adam Putnam. I'm not particularly a fan of Putnam, but we have a Republican establishment in this state. All 62 county chairmen in the state were for Putnam. Every Republican state legislature in the Senate, every Republican state legislature in the lower house, the state Senate speaker, the Senate president, the House speaker, every member of the Republican congressional delegation, with the exception of my friend Matt Gaetz, all supporting Adam Putnam. Donald Trump was persuaded by Matt Gaetz to endorse Ron DeSantis based on DeSantis appearing on Fox and on conservative radio defending Trump in the Russian collusion hoax. Trump didn't know that in 2016, when they were on the ballot together, that Ron DeSantis refused to endorse Donald Trump in his district. He shared this establishment Republican fear, which turned out to be quite baseless, that Donald Trump was going to drag down the ticket. In Ron DeSantis' district, Donald Trump ran stronger than Ron DeSantis did on election day.
Yes.
So, then he kind of reinvents himself as a Trump supporter, which he never was. I think he's a man without a plan. I mean, why he doesn't run for the Senate, I don't know. If he wants to have a future in national politics, he cannot do so without a public office. The problem, of course, is that senators don't have the kind of fulcrum that governors have to extort money from special interests. Ron DeSantis spent over $300 million to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And most of that money came from the insurance industry, gambling interests, utility interests, and others. They're people who gave because they had to, because they were basically squeezed, and they had interests in Tallahassee. Nobody gave to Ron DeSantis because they like him. So I think it's the end of the line for them. If she runs, she'll lose.
Yeah.
I imagine that he was hoping that either Pete Hegseth, who's turned out to be a great choice, would fail, or that Pam Bondi would somehow be replaced, and then he might get a cabinet job. I don't know why the president would do that. I would refer him to my book, Stone's Rules. I have one rule that says, a man who will stab you in the back once will stab you in the back again. That's the rule.
Pretty simple. Last question. I was on the Miami-Dade Republican Executive Committee. I've seen the tyranny that the RPOF has done, and I've seen it in Georgia. How do we fix the just establishment control of the GOP in multiple states? Any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I think that Byron Donalds, the congressman from Naples, will be governor, and I hope that he would help clean that up. I'm a strong supporter of the Florida Republican Assembly. They're constantly harassed by RPOF, but I've been talking to them, and I actually have a wealthy donor who wants to support legal challenges on their behalf. By the way, the Republican Party of Florida does not own the word Republican. Not own the word Republican. And if they keep insisting they do, they will get sued. Plus, Evan Powers, I think they should sue him personally. I think they should sue all of these party leaders personally, as well as the party. Let's see how much they really want to fight. The Florida Republican Assembly is part of an organization that's been around since 1931, long before there was a Florida Republican Party. So the party doesn't matter in the sense that, thank God, we choose our nominees in primaries. If the Republican Party of Florida had its way, Donald Trump would never be president.
True. I've just seen like in Manatee County where they voted in a MAGA slate and the RPOF just said, you no longer exist. We're going to establish our own Republican committee. I mean, that's happened.
Right. And therefore they should be sued. They should be sued into oblivion. If the folks there want to come see me, I can tell them how to finance the lawsuit. Sue them all. They don't own anything.
I'll pass it on, Roger. Thank you for your time. Always insightful. Really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you for all your support.
Thanks. God bless you.
Ciao.